I'm Christy Pelzel, Senior International Correspondent for Today News Africa, joined by my host, Simon Ateba, Today News Africa's publisher and White House correspondent. Our guest, Professor Merera Gudina, and Dr. Bersisa Barry. Professor Gudina is the chairman of the Oromo Federalist Congress and the chairman of the coalition Ethiopia Democratic Unity Forum. And Dr. Barry is a senior member of the Oromo Liberation Front and a member of the Oromo National Council and head of diplomatic relations. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
So tell us about the human rights climate in Ethiopia right now under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.
There is a human rights violations of the government or handling human rights in the country's largest region, that is Oromia. It, in fact, included extrajudicial killings. People have thousands of people held by the police without the court of law or court order. Really, especially the Oromia region, is the human rights violation is very massive. Not in 1, 2, 3 places, but across the country.
Human rights situation in Ethiopia is extremely dangerous this time, more than any time, especially since Abiy came to power. The human rights situation was really deteriorating. It has got a lot of forms of atrocities that will be exercised on civilians. Harassing, killing, arresting, raping, and extrajudicial really exercises are very abundant throughout the country, particularly in Oromia and the Tigray region. It is on the catastrophic level.
The OLF was designated a terrorist group by the Ethiopian parliament in 2011, and then they were removed from the terror list in 2018. But now there's a splinter group that has popped up, and they've been just recently placed back on the terror list. What is OLF's relationship to this splinter group, OLF Shane, and are they terrorists, out of control, or are they just?
This labeling of terrorism is one of the manipulation methodology of the ruling classes of Ethiopian government. When in 2009 the terrorist anti-terrorist law was just declared to isolate opposition groups and to legitimize the atrocities on the political opposition group. And then now is again doing the same thing, and at that time is effectively used for harassing ONLF and the Gimbo 7 group that time, and this time is they are doing the same thing, which actually is came at the right time when the international community and the Ethiopian people want political dialogue to solve the crisis in the country. But this time, there is no any other reason. The reason is that Abiy wanted to block the opposition. Now he's saying, yeah, I'm going to have a peaceful negotiation, but he's blocking the opposition groups. And then I don't understand with whom he is sitting down and making a negotiation. And in terms of relationship between Shane, as they call it, I don't know what that means. Actually, they are using the word, very misunderstood word. They are using, Shane means the executive committee of the organization. In Oromo language, but there is no any relationship between the armed group of the Oromo Liberation Army and the Oromo Liberation Front, who is peacefully under the constitution dealing with the Ethiopian government. But it's this allegation. They don't have any document or any evidence that there is a relationship between the two, but they wanted to label it that way in order to block oppositions from peaceful political dialogue.
The relationship between the OLF civilian wing and the armed wing, because of the government failure to undergo what we call a national dialogue. I think the government forced the OLF to sever its relationship with those who are in the bush. And the two groups already declared that they have no connections, they are separated, and so on and so forth. I was detained in 2016 for working with terrorists, and I stayed in prison for 1 year and so. So the government is usually, it is a very convenient tag to use against the so-called enemies of the government. That means whether you are peacefully struggling or legally struggling or legally fighting for your right as an armed group, the government, conveniently use this tag, the terrorism.
We know that the chairman of the Oromo Liberation Front, Mr. Dawood Ibsa, has been under house arrest for almost a year now. And recently we learned that he was picked up from his house. Can you tell us what his whereabouts are right now? And have you heard anything from him or his family since he was picked up by security forces?
For myself, I lost all contacts I had with him, by phone or by otherwise. And in fact, incidentally, we were at the Swedish embassy. His representative was attending that lunch at the Swedish embassy, and complaining that he has been held in total comunicado. In fact, no contact with his members, no contact with any family outside of that house, where he was living, and which really that house was last time almost ransacked. All the documents were taken out, his phones, phone number, phones, the laptop, and everything was taken away. And in fact, we're saying the people from the African Union and some Human Rights Commission denied access to him yesterday or so. This is what his representative at the lunch was telling us. Almost, he is held in total isolation or whatever, incommunicado with anybody.
Yes, regarding his raid of his residence last time, it is a very surprising way of raid. He is in the country, is legally registered, his organization, and staying in the country. They could have legally, during daytime, go or write a letter or call him, and if they want, they can invite him to the prison. But they went during the night, about 9 o'clock in the evening, in the dark, and they wanted to break the gate like a terrorism. I don't understand whether the government want to do like that. It is in that situation they went into, after the breaking, went into the house in a very aggressive way and beating everybody and snatching everybody, their communication devices, all documented without a piece, leaving a piece of paper. And then after that, some of the people have been badly beaten, and the children in the house is terrorized because of this. And after that, completely they blocked, and nobody can go there, and we don't have anything whether is there or not even.
So and I'm wondering this, for people in the US and for people in the international community, they know that the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. Do you think he still deserves it?
The Nobel Prize, not alone getting a Nobel Peace, he is not entitled to even leave the country. One, he came from the the previous dictator, EPRDF, is part of them working in a very key security issues. We have been involved in a number of authorities. Professor Marano Murzami, because they have been in there for a long time. And then whatever reason he came to power, and then he tried to get audience by nominally releasing certain political prisoners and saying repealing these anti-terrorist laws and things like that to just get a popularity. But on the other hand, he's completely went into a huge and more serious atrocities on civilians and opposition parties. And all the international community was watching all this. We have been reporting the reform process and the behavior of the ruling group to the international community from the very beginning. But despite all that, the Nobel Peace Prize has been given. Even the reason that they give because of the issue between Eritrea and Ethiopia, it was even not clear. The term of agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea was not clear. And the Ethiopian people, they don't know how the agreement is made, what the point is, and everything was hidden. It is between Isaias and Abiy. And then finally, when we arrived at the situation, just is preparing to fight the Tigrayans using Isaias. That is why he makes that agreement. So he completely don't deserve the peaceful prize.
I just wanted you to tell us, how many political prisoners do we have now?
If I tell you in terms of the OLF members and supporters and leaders detention, we can say almost all throughout the country. Now, the last one is chairman, Mr. Dawood Ibsa, is in prison. Actually, the location of the prison is maybe in his house. That is, it's not a house arrest, it's a prison. So we cannot say how much, but it can be more than 20,000, and more than 100 something offices have been closed. Not only closed, confiscated, and some of the offices are broken down, and completely the operation of the Oromo Liberation Front in the country have been halted by the security forces.
I wanted to ask you about this agreement known as DDR, Disarmed, Demobilized, and Reintegrated. It was an agreement made between the Ethiopian government under Abiy Ahmed and the OLF at large. It was basically a way to bring people back from the OLF back to Ethiopia to live as civilians, and it was kind of a peace deal. Does the DDR agreement mean anything, and is it too late to go back?
I think this time can be too late, but how the DDR fell itself, if I want to tell you a little bit, when they make an agreement in August 2018 in Asmara, they was to establish a committee, a joint committee, which work on the DDR process, and then on that agreement, the OLF has been moved to the country. Immediately, OLF reached there. They didn't do that. OLF was asking, okay, let's do something about the armed forces. And also, OLF came up with 1,500 armed groups from Eritrea, and they gave it to the government, and they put it in prison. And then the DDR process didn't work because immediately OLF arrived in the country, and on the million of people come and accept the organization. The Abiy government tried to become this is the enemy of my position. That is his stand. Then next day he start harassing the OLF, and there is no any single day when OLF sit with the government and talk a substantive discussion.
Would you like to add anything, Professor?
Well, I think the problem with the OLF and the larger country, one, regarding the political prisoners, I don't think even the government knows how many people it detained, because there are too many officials at the central level, the police, the militia, the army, whatnot. Many groups of whatever officials are detaining people without court order and without whatever. In fact, sometimes more serious is when the court somehow either release them on bail or let them go free. Then the police does not allow them, and then they take to other places, other areas, other whatever, continue to detain them, even against the court order. That is the problem. The other is the thing is that for example, even when we are relatively peacefully operating, we lost more than 200 offices which we had last year. Our fortune went down from 206 offices to 3 in 1 year. We had 206 offices. Now we lost 203 offices and only have 3 offices out of 206 offices across Oromia. And we are also pushed out of the election because of really this massive crisis, shrinking down of the political space, detention of hundreds, thousands, including high-level part of the leadership, high-level profile people. At the center of all this crisis, the question of this power. The government never wanted, I repeat it, the government never wanted genuine national dialogue to solve the country's outstanding problems. Genuine national dialogue. That is lacking. What the Prime Minister and his party is trying to impose is a roadmap of one party, a solution of one party, in the interest of one party.
It seems to me that the Abiy Ahmed is now almost behaving like a Nobel Peace Prize winning dictator. So will you say that he's behaving like a dictator, or he's now a dictator who actually won the Nobel Peace Prize?
There is no question that is a dictator. Even I can say it is a dictator of dictators, because he wants to be a one-man dictator. Even there is a lot of issues inside his own government. He wants to do whatever he wants himself. He just listen to people who appreciate him. If you come up with different views, you are gone. He just sit down and propose something and take to the so-called parliament, and then read for them, and they clap their hands. It's approved. There is no debate. There is no negotiating on any thing or bill to approve it, and then he is absolute dictator.
So the U.S. And other countries too have tried to support Ethiopia and broker peace deals and bring people together. Jeffrey Feltman is an American envoy to the Horn of Africa. He has recently been deployed to the region to make progress. Have you heard anything about his work in the region or the U.S. in the region?
Yes, I know that. We even give him a note, some information. It's a very interesting initiative, really. We thank the Biden administration for really considering the crisis in Ethiopia and sending this senior person to Ethiopia. It is a challenge, we know, but he has to work not only with the ruling group, he has to work with opposition parties as well. He has to listen to others. So I don't know, it will be a very big challenge for Mr. Feldman to deal with this. And then he is also proposing the dialogue should be after election, which actually is having a more disastrous, destructive situation, because in the first place, the election is not legitimate, it doesn't fulfill any criteria and parameters. And the other thing is there is no any trust after election, after Abiy is becoming legitimized to rule the country. Who trust him? Because there are a number of deceptions, as we know. So it doesn't work.
I think the problem with the Prime Minister on my part is, one, he lost what we call a political balance between different wings, and tilted to those who are, in our language, right-wingers in Ethiopian politics, who have been playing a very disastrous role in the country's very long history. So that losing that balance is really made him really paying by isolating him from his own political support base. The other thing is that because of personal or otherwise, he really mismanaged the transition. He wanted a one-man, one-party sort of roadmap, and he refused and consistently frustrated any move to what we call a common roadmap. So the roadmap of one party, in the interest of one party, whatever is really messing up the country. The other thing is probably I suspect he has got too many ill advisors, roaming probably around the palace to advise him this way or that way. And some of them with vested interest for their own political future. I think because he already lost power, and sometimes in anger, he's taking a lot of actions, which is really taking the country down to what we call a disastrous road to destruction. So I think the only way to salvage the country is that especially the big brothers, probably one on one side really advising that it is in the interest of this country and a country of more than 100 million people, that the country is stabilized, that the country really start to enjoy peace. That he should ensure, for example, say the birth of democratic Ethiopia. He should ensure the country's meaningful, whatever economic development. This is my most serious worry regarding this election is that what it cannot deliver. Is no way on earth it is going to deliver three greatest needs of the country. This is durable peace and stability. For the last, as I told you, for the last 50 years, we have been undergoing, from one crisis to another crisis. This is probably in my lifetime the fourth opportunity we are facing, to fix our politics. Secondly, ensure the birth of democracy Ethiopia. Some say Ethiopia is a country of 3,000 years. The 3,000 years in terms of our politics, it is still uncivilized. Still, it is probably backward as European Middle Age. Still, leaders are aspiring to be a introduce a one-man rule. Therefore, you know, unless otherwise we civilize our politics, unless otherwise we ensure the birth of democratic Ethiopia for the first time in the country's history. What we don't eat is election. You know? It cannot be a bread to be eaten. The Ethiopian people want peace and stability. The Ethiopian people want democratic governance. The Ethiopian people want meaningful economic development. These are not there.
So, Professor, I know that Christy just asked about Mr. Jeffrey Feltman, and I'm wondering if he has been in touch with the Oromo people, you or any of your representatives, and if you can suggest some of the people that he needs to really meet with apart from the government.
From the government?
No, apart from the government, who do you think among Oromos, has he met with someone from your camp? Has he been in touch with you?
Oromos, more or less, Oromos these days, really believe only two parties, the OLF and the Oromo Federalist Congress. Because of the government pressure or use of carrot and the stick, many Oromo political groups are out. And I think as things stand now, the legitimate Oromo political forces, who really can influence the Oromo population at large are the two groups. So there are a lot of Oromo intellectuals at the universities, the Oromo elders, the Oromo whatever, but I think the real Oromo, quote unquote, even if we are not elected, to the two political groups, the OLF and the Oromo Federalist Congress, can be taken as the legitimate representatives of the Oromo people.
Regarding the Mr. Feldman's, if he could contact any Oromo.
Yeah, has he been in touch with the Oromo people, and who do you think that he should meet with?
OLF, as you know, the chairman is, we don't know where his whereabouts. And also it is risky for other people to contact Mr. Feldman because of the security situation, as you know, because every representative or any supporter or member of the OLF is in hunting. The government is under strict surveillance. So if there is the wish from the ambassador, we can arrange something.
Great. And my last question to you is, if you can tell us or update us about Mr. Jawar Mohammed. Are you in touch with him? How is he doing? Is he still in prison?
His health is getting back better. You know that he and his group were under hunger strike for 40 days. Now I think they start to eat and his health is getting back to normal. But the court wrangling is still, is still the government side is then that his lawyers could not agree the way witnesses. I think they are having about 146 witnesses against him in his group, but there is no agreement on that. What the government side is saying, the witnesses against him should witness in total behind the curtain with total blackout, where he cannot see him, or his lawyers cannot see them, Anyway, his health is okay, but the court case is going very badly, very badly.
So finally from me, what's your message to the Biden administration?
The message we have for Biden administration is whether the forthcoming election is conducted or not doesn't make any difference in terms of solving the problems in that country. So there should be an alternative way to address the crisis in Ethiopia. The crisis is more than election. It's not a matter of election. It is a deep-rooted problem. It is a polarization of people, which especially escalated since Abiy came to power. So there should be a sort of interim government which try to bring all these broken pieces together and put a common roadmap to election process and democratization. Now we are here. We are not talking about, we have to think about saving Ethiopia, the country called Ethiopia. Unless the country, we have to make some effort to save. In a few months or years' time, the country will be disintegrated.
I think on my part, the three things should be stressed. One is that really this election is, if it is going to be held, it is going to be sham elections. Really, it's not solving the country's outstanding problems. This should be noted. In any way, it cannot solve any of the outstanding problems of the country. To what the opposition, many of the opposition like me, what we want is a fair game to everybody. Not only to us, but a fair game to all. The way to produce this fair game, there is no any, as a student of political science, there is no any magic formula except all-inclusive national dialogue. That the all-inclusive national dialogue can take us to what my friend is saying, an interim the transitional government, or a government of some sort. But in this, the common roadmap is centrally the critical. Without a common roadmap, a roadmap of one party imposing through guns, through whatever, through use of the partisan election board, all these things are not going to solve the country's outstanding problems. I think the big brothers, not only the US, should be coordinating their efforts with the Europeans. I should point out that the former ambassador of the US, America, was not helping us, Renner, or I think somebody. He in fact was hiding with the government officials, and I don't know how much he achieved in 3 years. His stay in Ethiopia. He never talked to us, really, to the opposition. The American embassy used to be our home, where we discuss, where we even quarrel or talk to the international community, all kinds of things. He totally excluded the opposition from whatever dialogue at the embassy. He had 3 good years now were lost. Anyway, we hope for the better. I think the big brothers, in coordination, not in isolation, in coordination, can help us to move forward.
We've run out of time, but thank you so much for your time today, and we wish you the best, and we would like to keep in touch.
Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, thank you too. Thank you.